Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Microsoft 365, One Cloud, Endless Possibilities for Your Business. My name is Eleni Lepo, and I'm the Marketing Director here at KiteTech. I'll be your host today, and I'm so glad that you've chosen to spend this next hour with us. I know we have some friends in the audience today that may not be familiar with who Kite Technology is, but Kite Technology is a managed IT services provider and a consulting firm, and we serve small and mid-sized businesses across the US. We specialize in serving independent insurance agencies, nonprofits, and other professional organizations, but we work with many different businesses across a variety of industries. Our goal is to help the organizations that we partner with leverage technology so that they can operate more effectively, be more secure, and also improve their overall business performance. I've highlighted some of the services that we provide here on this slide. So if you'd like to learn more about how we can help you with your technology needs, please feel free to reach out in the chat, or you can contact us after the webinar. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the controls over to Adam. And Adam, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Thanks, Eleni. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adam Atwell. I'm the Director of Professional Services here at Kite Technology Group. I almost have my 10-year badge here. Shortly, another couple of months, I'll be working on that 10th year. I started about 3 years ago in my current role as Director of Professional Services, and really that's kind of where my real priority and influence in our Microsoft Cloud adoption began. Got flown out to Vegas for something called SharePoint conference, and then from there I was kind of sold on the Microsoft Cloud vision. So I've been taking that vision and trying to build it into our technical standards and kind of develop a roadmap for how we help our clients get there, along with other members of our team, for about really the last 2 years pretty harshly. And COVID brought along a lot of changes that have made some of that easier and brought some more opportunity. But other than people, our employees and staff directly, my second passion here is kind of driving this vision of 365 forward. So technical leadership has been most of what I've done here, and then random fun facts about me. Even though I live in a Microsoft world, as you can see back here, there's an apple back over here, some little art, and my two children, Macintosh, Tobias Mac, and Beckett Tosh, because I named my kids' middle names Macintosh. I really love Apple, maybe a little bit more than Microsoft, but that's me. Thanks for being here today with us, and let's get started. So the agenda, we have an introduction that we'll start with, which is really just kind of covering what the digital age is now, the new digital age. We'll cover the landscape of OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams at a high level. And then we'll dive into hopefully some new things for you, the Endpoint Manager, Azure Information Protection, and Edge. Then we'll take a look at the actual Microsoft 365 plans today. And then we'll also cover next steps and how we can help. And along with that, open up some questions. So let's get started here. Eleni, would you mind launching our first poll, please? On the screen there, you'll have some questions to answer, and it's a select one or more, so you can check any of the boxes there that make sense for you. We're just trying to kind of gauge what you're familiar with and what you're already using. We'll give folks another 15 seconds. Probably let this poll be open for an entire minute. It's running on 25 seconds. Slight fun fact to fill the noise, fill the space here while we're waiting another 15 seconds for the poll. I wish I had one of my partner in crime, Jason Goebel's soundboard, because I'd get him to light up Jeopardy music for me here. But I don't. Sorry, guys, we didn't have a chance to do the whole audio production. All right, let's close that poll out and kind of capture those responses on the screen. So you guys can see that pretty much the majority of the audience is using email today in 365. 40% SharePoint, OneDrive, 53 on Teams, and then Endpoint Manager, Intune, a handful. That's great. Thanks for those metrics. We'll go ahead and close that down and hide the results. Let's jump in. to the new digital age. So here at K-Tech, it's our goal to help our customers achieve more leveraging technology. We help them implement and use every day. A big part of how we do that is helping our customers digitally transform. Even before COVID, customers were already investing in digital transformation to optimize operations, save time, serve their clients, kind of create new products and services, and then of course empower their staff. In the middle of the pandemic, there's a lot of pressure and never seen before sense of urgency for every company to increase their tech intensity and to drive transformation. We've literally entered a new digital age. What do business leaders today need to help their people and organizations succeed in this new world? That's what we're going to answer here today. I think we'd all agree that technology can help amplify human ingenuity. But people are the driving force behind progress. People are generally problem solvers. They invent new things, they improve old things, they imagine a future and then find ways to make it happen. But in the context of business productivity, the pandemic has reminded us of two things. One, people are amazingly resilient. They can adapt to changing circumstances and they can make all the difference. Second, you can't increase the people productivity by treating them like machines. When it comes to people, more work isn't equal to more output. We sprint, then we need time to recover. And what's more, we're social animals. We need each other. In fact, we do our best when we work together. And when looking at the way people organize themselves into groups to get things done, we have a timeless set of needs. Conventionally, we've looked at the physical workplace to solve these needs. For us here at K-Tech, that used to be our home office where we'd meet around and share cubbies and bullpens and yell at each other and get work done. But even before COVID-19, we here started to see a shift. Our employees started to become remote and they started to change the way that we operated. We're spread across the US today and maybe one day beyond. We live in a world with ever expanding limits. We really need to rethink work. It's no longer a place you go. It's a set of activities that people need to be able to perform from anywhere. Back in January of last year, this quote from William Gibson felt like a prediction for the future. Now that future is gone. I'm going to go ahead and change the screen here to our first video.
Since the world shifted to remote work, research shows there are some bright spots. People cite flexibility and greater empathy for team members. 62% of people surveyed said they feel more empathetic toward colleagues now that we can all see into each other's lives at home. On the other hand, there are concerning trends. We're eroding the social capital built over decades over water coolers and in hallways, leading to loss of connection and feelings of isolation. People are working longer hours, leaving them feeling depleted, with the biggest increases in Teams usage outside the typical 9-to-5 workday and on weekends. Workday length increased 17% in Japan, 25% in the US, and 45% in Australia. 1/3 of remote workers say the lack of separation between work and life is negatively impacting their well-being. And more than 30% of information workers and first-line workers say the pandemic has somewhat or significantly increased their sense of burnout. But 70% of people also indicate that meditation could help decrease work-related stress. It's clear that people want to do great work. The big question, how can technology help?
So that's a pretty cool video from our partners at Microsoft. And really, just to kind of fast forward, these are some takeaways that we've really learned here in the midst of COVID. One, and these are really, I would say these are key success factors for every business and their IT leader or their management team to help empower people to work in this new world as it relates to technology, as well as to deliver human ingenuity at scale. The first is we need to reimagine teamwork, culture, and social capital digitally. And I think we're all experiencing that right now. In addition to that, live interactive communication in meetings and collaboration of documents and projects. The tools have the stuff, but we need to reimagine it digitally. Second, prioritize individual well-being to help people focus and be their best. This concept feels so foreign, honestly. It feels like, hey, if I want to really get a lot done and I want to have that Google environment where I have a chef, and everybody can hang and have a little egg pod to get work done in, we can't do that. We're a small business. I would challenge that question because well-being looks very different and focused environments look very different and the tools just keep getting better. But we have to prioritize the individual and care for the person, not just see them as an employee. We need to help our people learn, reinvent, and grow with the pace of change. We also need to unlock the knowledge, insights, and expertise of the whole organization, not just a couple of think tank decision makers. We need to be able to pull and communicate with everyone. We need to be able to automate process and workflows. How much time do we waste in doing the same meaningless, low value tasks over and over again? And how can we leverage automation, process, and workflows to make us more efficient and take that time back and do better things with it? Also, we have to include everyone in digital transformation. It can't just be the IT guys or the managers. This has to be a company strategy that extends beyond our walls of wherever we work. We need to engage our customers and our partners that serve our customers as well as our internal staff. And then lastly, of course, we need to ensure a trusted, secure, modern workplace for everyone. Everyone gets them. They're called table stakes, I think some of the big wigs call it. All right, let's look here at our second poll. When COVID caused us, most of us, to work from home, which of these following things were already in place for you and your business? Remote access. Did you have remote access to files? Did you have a business phone system that was available to you remotely? Did you have a platform that you could communicate with? And then also, did you already have the VPNs in place? We're going to give that about another 10 or 15 more seconds and then kind of see how those numbers come in. Awesome. Getting a lot of votes here. Thank you for that participation. All right, we'll go ahead and close that out and let's go ahead and share those results on the screen here. So this is actually much higher than I expected. Honestly, we find that in our customer base that a lot of folks had the plumbing, but they didn't have the need to get things set up. And so we found on the front end of COVID, we had to implement a lot of those changes, but great. Awesome numbers. We'll go ahead and close that poll out and dive into the technical piece of all this. So realistically, you can see a graphic here that kind of just shows what we're going to cover here. Across the top, you see some icons you're familiar with. I'm going to go left to right. The computer icon there at the bottom with the smartphone or mobile device is Endpoint Manager. Right above it is Teams, of course. Most of you are familiar with that. Outlook is above that. That's where we get our email. The Office suite across all those apps is there too. Microsoft Edge, which I hope for some of you is something you're using or something new. And then lastly, Azure Information Protection is the lock on the right. All that stuff circles back to the graph. So we're going to go ahead and dive in and cover how these things fit together. So OneDrive, place to start for most people. OneDrive is the Files app for Microsoft 365. It's a place where you can keep your individual files and they're backed up and available to you wherever you're at. In addition to them being backed up, secured, and protected, you can co-author and share those files from any device you work from. You can also work with others in real time, and then you can organize and find files that matter the most to you. A couple other more detailed features. When I say access individual and shared files, you can do that across all of these platforms. Microsoft has products both on-prem and in cloud for SharePoint, and then obviously the OneDrive app across any platform you choose to be on. You can also access those OneDrive files inside of Microsoft Teams, as well as a consolidated view of all those files in the web. In addition to that, the OneDrive and SharePoint platform supports over 320 file previewers, and that keeps growing. What does that mean? When you're looking at the files, they can give you that little snapshot of what you see on the screen there, like that image or maybe that PowerPoint presentation at the bottom. Files on demand is part of that same experience, and it ties down to both the desktop and offline file access. So across PC and Mac, you can actually download files for those plane rides or where you don't have internet connectivity, but you don't have to actually move all the files with you and download them all. You can just pull what you need. You can work from anywhere, literally anywhere you want. In offline mode, you could take those files, or you could work across any of the modern platforms, Mac OS, Windows 10, iOS, Android OS, any of them, and even web for that matter. And then you can automatically do things like back up your photos if that's a value add for you. And then you can even protect the files on your Windows PC. So in addition to backing up all of your documents, you can protect your local desktop, your documents folder, and those corresponding folders in my videos or my documents, my pictures, they used to be called, and now they're just called pictures and videos. Working together with anyone in real time is a huge collaboration advantage of using OneDrive. OneDrive allows you to share inside and outside the organization, and you get the consistent share dialogue across anywhere you access OneDrive. So you can see here, there's the link settings. Hey, do I want to share anyone? Do I want to allow editing? Do I want to expire this file and set a password? Do I want to block the download of it? You can make these choices both internally and externally. Even if someone doesn't have a Microsoft account, they can still securely access this with a one-time passcode, and they'd be known as a guest to your actual Microsoft environment. You can co-author documents in real time across the whole platform stack. So mobile, desktop, web, wherever you want to be. And then you can get back to those files in an easy, convenient manner across that same stack, web, mobile, or online. And you can pin and organize files that are convenient to you. And then lastly, probably one of the bigger ones and more convenient ones are shared with and shared by. Work with all shared files, or you can see popular around me. They're also doing things like save a link to your OneDrive. So how many times does someone sent you a file from their OneDrive and you never can find it, and you didn't know about the web view that you can find shared by Adam, but now you can actually create a link to that share in your own OneDrive. So that's a newer feature as well. That's a quick snap on OneDrive. Let's talk about SharePoint. Now, a lot of people don't really know the fact that SharePoint is really the parent and OneDrive is a child. And what do I mean by that? SharePoint is built as a collaboration platform, and Microsoft calls it the intelligent intranet. Most people don't even really know that SharePoint has a back-end website component to it, as well as that it's a file sharing platform. So what they did at Microsoft is they took SharePoint, customized it down to an individual person. That's what OneDrive is. That's what we just covered. But really, SharePoint is the backbone that all of this is built on. And so file sharing and content collaboration lives here at SharePoint. Shared data and business process solutions. So not only can you get that old S drive or shared network drive up here in SharePoint, but you can also create process. One example around that is like an alerting. So sometimes I'll go into SharePoint and I'll create a folder where folks might submit data, and then I'll set alerts on it. And I'll say, hey, every time there's a change to this folder, I want you to send me an email. You can't do that with a traditional file and folder system. So those things are built in. Communication and employee experiences. What does that mean? So that means you can actually engage your internal employees with really fluid, feature-rich content. So you want to pull a blog article or some news articles together, or you want to give them a dynamic list of links that you always go through. You can bring that in a high visual fidelity experience right in a web browser. You can also share knowledge and discovery of content. That's automatic stuff that happens in the back end that the Microsoft Graph puts in your face and says, hey, you might be interested in this because you were searching for, a marketing collateral or whatever it might be. And then, of course, that's just the core. And then the foundation of all of this, of course, has the security and governance requirements that are the underpinnings to all this. And it has customization and extensibility to integrate with other third-party apps and really meet your needs. This is just a quick snippet of SharePoint team sites, and this is one place where a lot of folks don't realize, hey, SharePoint's a website too. We just thought we put our files there, and you could do that, that's fine. But a real practical use is SharePoint team sites for small departments, and they can organize the information they want to display there. You can see there's a little navigation bar off on the left, hiding behind the mobile device there. And then also you see on the right, they have a little news snippet, they have some activity snippets, some document snippets, and you can redesign that web page to your needs. Lists and libraries are the foundation, along with news, of kind of what really brings the visual experience together for SharePoint. So those things are there. And then of course you can get a lot more complicated and way more integrated as you look across the other things like Power Apps and Flow. So Flow is automated business process you can add on the back end. And then Power Apps are things like integrations with databases and other applications. In addition to that, there's a couple of apps that already have built-in integrations like Planner and OneNote. So let's say that for your marketing department or your management team, you want to use a shared OneNote notebook where you kind of have a running file for something. You can do that in terms of a team site. And then also even a shared calendar. Lastly, the hub site feature, a lot of folks, it kind of goes over their head, but if you can imagine a common navigation structure, a menu system across all of these websites, every single one of your department team site has a common navigation at the top. Maybe the link is your homepage. Maybe another link is, let's just say, your HR site. Whatever it is, you can have a common navigation structure that goes across all of your SharePoint team sites. That's what hub site and a hub site navigation is. So that's SharePoint. Let's talk Teams. Well, I think everybody's pretty much using Teams here in some way, but what is Teams? It's meetings and callings, chat and collaboration, and then apps and workflow integrations. So a lot of folks say, well, hey, I'm using Zoom and it's meeting my need. Why would I care to even consider Teams? Well, certainly you could run a meeting or do calls with Teams or Zoom or any other number of online meeting platforms. But what you don't get is you don't get that persistent chat and collaboration that lives after the meeting. And then you also don't get the other integrations across the Microsoft 365 landscape. Looking a little bit further, you could actually have that dialogue. You see that feature-rich experience, and this is less relevant today because I think everyone's using some kind of video communication platform. But if you're not, I think it's really important to understand engaging and connecting with people visually is a really, really important thing. And this app gives you that feature right out of box. In addition to that, you could actually run a meeting and share a document in real time and edit it inside of Teams, or deliver a training or a workshop. The Teams features are going crazy in terms of what they're developing. In addition to what you see here, you can also pull in audio conferencing. So if you need to connect to a customer that doesn't have the Teams app or they don't have a smartphone, you can get the audio conferencing license and they can call in and join like a traditional, audio conference bridge. And then it even goes further beyond that, and you can collaborate with telephony and voice features as well. One of the other things that gets missed is the playback of meetings and recordings and transcripts that are available outside of that meeting. When it's done and gone in a Zoom meeting, that meeting is downloadable and you can store it. But Microsoft provides a back-end infrastructure to already capture those meetings, organize them, and make them available to you inside of your platform already. And then, of course, all these features and all the growing ones, whiteboards and content cameras and all kinds of cool ways to enrich your meeting experience. They're going a step further and wrapping around enterprise-grade security and compliance and management features around it as well. In addition to collaboration with people inside in the form of chats or group chats, you can do one-on-one chat or group chats inside of actual departmental structures. That's what the team channels are off on the right there. You could have, let's just say inside of your management team, maybe you have 3 different channels, and you could have conversations there, and they're threaded conversations, not just a dialogue that goes on forever, but ones that you can kind of read and refer back to. And then again, you can co-author files, and you'll see in that middle example, they're co-authoring a Word document, and along the way, they're providing comments in line to the document that you can refer to in the chat dialogue as well. And that feature is baked in right there to Teams. So that's just a little bit about Teams. Now let's talk about how all those things come together. So we intentionally put SharePoint right in the middle here of this picture because we know that OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams all work really, really well together. To better represent that, we have this nice little triangle graphic, and really it kind of shows you that the relationship across these apps were really built to work together. If you look across the marketing collateral that Microsoft has on their website, you're going to see a lot of the same words that they use in SharePoint and OneDrive and Teams. You're going to see words like intelligent file experiences, intelligent content services. Why am I pointing this out? Because SharePoint is the back end that really makes all this happen. It's a combination of SharePoint holding this data and serving it up in Teams with a little bit of Exchange on the back end. That's the email platform. And then, of course, sharing that data out to OneDrive, and all those things work together. So these 3 products were built with each other in mind, and they'll continue to grow across the board. And then just to summarize it, again, you have the intelligent file experiences. OneDrive can work with all of your files. Teams, you can work with your team. And then SharePoint, you can work across your organization. Let's talk Endpoint Manager. So I think it's important to pause here and say, well, hey, you haven't told me anything new yet, Adam. And I hope I haven't lost the audience, because this is kind of where I get excited. Not that you guys care about what makes me happy, but real talk, from a technology perspective, I really want to pause for the techies out here and say, Endpoint Manager, what is this thing? Well, Endpoint Manager is the foundation for device management in 365. And so let me draw a parallel. Endpoint Manager was fundamentally 2 on-prem server products bolted together, a product called Intune and another product called Configuration Manager. And so back in the traditional on-prem server environment model, having all those servers in-house got to be unruly. Microsoft kind of saw this cloud growth come, and they slowly started to build up what is now called Endpoint Manager. And so Endpoint Manager, a simple way to think of it is the glue that manages the places where we access all the files. You know, before this, we're talking about SharePoint and OneDrive. We didn't really talk about email because everyone knows what that is. All those things live in the cloud. Endpoint Manager helps manage the places where you access those files. So to the points of a couple of the things I already covered, deploying applications and securing those devices using conditional access. So that's really just a set of rules that you can say and put together about what things you can do and from where. So Endpoint Manager allows you to go and push applications down and secure those Windows 10 devices or Mac OS devices. It also simplifies securing those endpoints by using modern ways of securing the devices with certificates and remote access policies. And then again, it goes and it extends that configuration manager, an initial platform that was really built to be managed in a local infrastructure, and it extends it to internet-based management, or it tears the walls down. Couple of other things it'll do. Endpoint Manager allows you to really set up rules across the places where your people work. So yesterday's environment for your local Windows environment, your local Windows server was built to serve a Windows machine. Endpoint Manager is built for Windows, it's built for iOS, Android, and Mac OS. Now, of course, it's a Microsoft product, so it's going to do the best and have the most feature-rich environment sitting around the Windows and the Microsoft products. But iOS and Android and Mac OS, those features are coming along and really getting on par feature for feature for what Microsoft's Windows provides as well. In addition to that, it gives you the flexibility to allow you to make a business decision about whether or not you want to allow a bring your own device policy. Now, I want to pause and recognize the business complexity associated with allowing, really corporate data access on personal devices. Yesterday, that came with a lot of red tape and a lot of potential risk. Today's model with using Endpoint Manager really simplifies that scenario. I'm going to show you how here in 2 slides ahead. Endpoint Manager summed up 3 things. It's secure and it's intelligent, it's streamlined, it's flexible, and it maximizes value. So really, what do those things mean to you as a potential user? It makes your life easy. The process is the same across each of your end user endpoints. You know and can feel secure that it's being managed and those rules are being applied in a way that allows you to just do work. And we really look for things that help meet your business needs here, and it gives you the ability to make customizations and exceptions and changes outside of those standards as you need them as well. One real relevant thing that a lot of folks hear, and it kind of goes in one ear and out the other, is this aspect of data protection of mobile devices. So really, there's this old model, the top one, called mobile device management. And you can see there's a little lock around the entire phone there. And really, the short version of mobile device management, or MDM, is that when a company allowed an end user to put company information on their personal device, they kind of had to control or manage the whole device. Now you can imagine, and you probably already know, what complexities that may add to you as a manager. Hey, an employee doesn't want me to manage their personal device, and I don't want to either. So in comes mobile application management. What does that do exactly? It allows you to allow a personal device to access corporate data, and you secure the corporate data inside of the application itself. What? So that means I can not have to buy cell phones for all my employees, but still allow them to get company data and securely, and I don't have to take on any of the personal device? Yay. count me in. So that's probably one of the deal breakers in terms of value adds for Endpoint Manager as it relates to mobile devices. This is just kind of another view on it, and you can see this shows you managed apps on the top. Those are things that we put rules around, and then personal apps at the bottom. And that graphic's a little bit dated on multiple fronts, but you can choose what you want to secure. And of course, we make recommendations around the right way to do these things. But even Outlook, let's take that for example. Well, that's an app that might have personal data and corporate data in it. So how do we do that? Well, certain apps actually support multi-identity policies. So you can kind of cut that app in the middle and say personal is on the top, business is on the bottom, and I'm going to put different rules into each one. In addition to that, in the background, the Azure Information Protection is really telling you what to do and how to protect that data, corporate data, your data on that device. So that's a short version of Endpoint Manager. Let's jump to Azure Information Protection. What is that? So really, Azure Information Protection is built-in intelligent protection for the data you're accessing. So those emails, those OneDrive documents, those SharePoint documents, any of those documents, you want to be able to know they're encrypted. You want to put rules around them that know they're protected wherever they're accessed. Azure Information Protection allows you to do that. You can create centralized policies for Azure Information Protection, wrap them up, tie them up, and then apply them across the organization. The bottom line is really probably explained in these two specific areas for Azure Information. One is information protection and data governance strategy. So short version, I want to go ahead and I want to make sure our data is protected and encrypted. And in addition to that, I want to make sure it never leaves our corporate devices. That's kind of, managing where that data goes and how it's used. That's protection and governance. And then the last piece is inside of that data, you could even classify sensitive data that you really want to limit or put different rules on how it's accessed. That's Azure Information Protection. And one of the pieces that a lot of folks don't even see working, but it's happening in the background. This last little graphic really just kind of shows you in the middle there of the cloud with the icon, the Azure icon, that's the two shades of blue and the white. Everything as it's accessed rolls through Azure Information Protection, whether it's a SharePoint website, whether it's a desktop PC, whether it's integrating with a third-party service like Dropbox or Google Drive, it always goes back to Azure Information Protection and it says, what am I supposed to do here? What are the rules that make sense for our business? All right, last piece here is Microsoft Edge. I'm going to switch to a quick video and show you guys this piece of Edge. Realistically, Edge is Microsoft's modern web browser.
Let's take a look here and see what we have. There's easy access to all the Office apps. Right there in the waffle upper left-hand corner, you can see documents recently shared with you right here on your Office homepage. You can see anything you want to pin or maybe something that you were looking for. You can search for it right here. As soon as it search, it engages Bing, checks in the organization for files that are relevant to you. Maybe that's the budget. In addition to that, you can get access to legacy sites in Internet Explorer mode, baked right into Edge. Collections is a new way to organize files and websites that'll allow you to store stuff for later. You can go ahead and store things away in little collections of websites. You could also send it to Excel, out to Word, or export it to lists and write notes. It's a great way to keep your files organized inside of Edge. Lastly, things you do in Edge on desktop, you can do on mobile. Pick those collections up right where you left them off. Pick them right up on the phone and run on along. Check what you need to. That's a brief bit on Edge.
Just want to say there's this thing called Microsoft Graph in the background, and Microsoft Graph captures all this information, analyzes it, and reports in from a metrics perspective. Why do we care about this? A lot of people kind of draw this line to Google and say they track all the things. everyone's tracking all the data nowadays. It's happening everywhere. Really, what's the business benefit? We're subscribing to a cloud that all these people and all this data is going through. So surely we're going to learn some things that can help add business value. Jump ahead, Microsoft changed the names. Back on the left, you see the old names, you see the new names of their core plans back in the 21st of 2020. Let's talk here about Business 365 Business Premium. You can see Business Premium is the bottom of the stack. This is what we would recommend. You know, not only does it give you the cloud services of Exchange, Teams, SharePoint, and OneDrive, it also gives you all the apps, just like Basic and Standard do combined, but it gives you that last row of Intune, Azure Information Protection. So that helps you close that gap on the back end of, you know, the devices and the servers. And then, of course, securing the devices with Microsoft Defender. That's the foundation of what it would cost to do this back in April, you know, April of last year. To get this value, it would have cost you $36 per person. And now you can do it for $20 per person. So all of that value and all that security, $20. It's a heck of a deal. You do it in one place with Microsoft products and they all integrate well together, or you could go through, you know, any number of third-party solutions to get there. The last thing that we're going to cover here are just kind of the core value between the business premium at 20 and then the enterprise stack at, which is E3 and E5. Most of our clients really fit squarely in the $20 plan and can meet those needs. It is designed for companies less than 300 people. If you get more than 300, you got to look at enterprise. The main things to know about enterprise is you get a little bit more storage space. You also get the options to integrate to the local environment. And then you get some more analytics and some more intelligence on the back end from a security and protection standpoint. Lastly, that $57 amount includes some of the costs to integrate a telephone system into Teams and some really advanced features on security and endpoint management for Windows Defender. So we're going to throw a poll up and see here, you know, just kind of want to pause and see which of these components do you think your business would benefit most from at this point, knowing that, you know, a lot of you folks are probably already using something, but is any of this new and would you get any benefit from it? We got about, we're going to leave this open for another 20 seconds. All right, great. So we'll go ahead and close that out and share the results. And based on what I'm seeing, they're what I would expect. A spread across all of them. Maybe some of that is, you know, things you don't know you have or things you're already using. So you're getting that business benefit. And then of course, all of the above is what we think for most of our clients. Let's talk about next steps. Excuse me. Really, I want to kind of bottom line this, guys, because my wife tells me I talk too much. Thanks, babe. So where do you go from here? What makes sense? Well, it's really 6 things that we think make sense. You have to define a vision. Why? What are we going to get? You got to kind of hash that out. What do you think? After you have a plan, you really got to go get leadership's buy-in. Anything that's going to be successful is going to have more successful impact if leadership's on board. Along the road, expect change to come. If we already aren't change resilient, I'm not sure where we've been for the last year, because more changes inevitably are going to come. And I say that socially, I say that in business, in the way we serve our customers. Along the road, you got to train your end users. That is so important. You can't just throw it at them and expect them to be able to, you know, really capture anything without a plan. You have to reevaluate your vision at certain points. You're going to get to a pause. You're going to say, hey, what's next? Maybe we need to change directions. Let's pause. And then, of course, you're going to need help. You're going to need help. And let me tell you how we might be able to help. And then we'll move to questions. So traditional things we see folks needing help with: email migration, that's pretty, pretty cut and dry. In addition to that, maybe some file migrations to OneDrive and SharePoint. Getting onto Teams as a platform and using all the features that it has. Azure Active Directory and Endpoint Manager is the biggest area I think that our customers need help with, and really one of those hardest pieces to move forward from. How do I untangle myself from that local server and really be cloud first? And all of those Windows devices are tied to that control point. So how do I get there? That's one of the biggest ones. Of course, after you get all this stuff there, you have to secure it and know how to keep up with the security trends in the products. And then lastly, the thing that will come inevitably is data governance and compliance. NYCRR, HIPAA, all of these different compliance organizations, GDPR, which is the global bit. All these things are going to come down to pretty much needing help with corporate policies that governments are going to say you got to do these things with the data. Bottom line, this stuff is meant to be easy to get started. It gets way harder and more complex when you got to kind of unpack it and really want to leverage the value. We're going to throw a link in the chat, and you'll see it's availability for Sue. Sue's one of our folks from our sales side, and if you're interested or need help, you can book an appointment with Sue if you think maybe we might be able to help in any way, shape, or form. So that link's coming soon. And I think at this point, Eleni, we're about 2.5 minutes behind schedule. I'm sorry. We're good for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's, you want to turn our webcams on and we'll start with some questions.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. Awesome. Everybody should have that link in their chat if they want to schedule just some time to talk about how we can help. But anyway, we hope that everybody enjoyed our presentation today. Adam, you covered a lot of great info, so thank you. We do have a few questions, so let's get those to you. All right, we have a question from Dick, and it says, I have hundreds of PDF and Word files dating back years. Should I transfer them from my hard drive to OneDrive? What do you think?
Well, honestly, Dick, that's a pretty big risk to not getting them, off the local hard drive for sure. I mean, that's more of a kind of a real specific use case, but let me expand it beyond your specific individual files. The bottom line is getting them into OneDrive or part of the 365 environment. You're going to be much better positioned for sure. You won't have to worry about that local hard drive dying or a local backup. You can get them out and in the cloud and have them protected and get them wherever you need to, for sure.
All right, thanks, Adam.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go to a question from Colin, and it is, can you wipe corporate Outlook remotely from a user's mobile device? So I guess wipe out their access for terminated employees.
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. So Colin, thanks for that. Hi, hope you're doing well. Basically, the old day, I kind of alluded this in the mobile device management versus mobile application management piece. And back in the olden day, the Microsoft Exchange side controls were really built around kind of the whole device. And so, now you can do either one. You can take over the whole device. You can actually wipe the phone remotely. You can lock folks out of that data. And then the other side of it really is just the containerization of that data through mobile application management. And you can lock that up and revoke that data access as well. There's even policies where you can say after 30 days, if you haven't checked in with the system, auto delete. So even if that device never got connected again to the internet, it would auto delete itself and clear it. So yeah, those options are across the board. They're there.
Right, perfect. All right, let's go on to a question from Jessica. And it says, are there any good training resources that you would recommend?
That's a great question. We have a solution for that. If you book a link with Sue, no, I'm joking. So let me be serious about this. The training piece, there's so much basic information, Jessica, on Microsoft's website, and it is ever growing. It's not comprehensive, and similar to the conversation of, hey, it's easy to get started, but it gets harder when you actually have to integrate it into the business. what we find is it's not enough. And certain members of my team, some of my PMs like Crystal would tell you, hey, Adam, Microsoft stuff, not good enough. Most people can't get the value. And that's where we find we have a product we're just starting to kind of put out there, and it's a training and engagement platform. So not only does it provide training collateral, but it's a learning management system too, and it helps you kind of see your employees' engagements in the Microsoft stack. And so really, if you ask us, bottom line, if you want to do it well, you got to go beyond a couple pieces of free training and find an LMS or a structured plan and approach to that training. I hope that helps.
All right, thanks, Adam. All right, question here, the costs that you showed, I'm presuming they are monthly costs, right?
100%, yes. Yes, definitely. Those costs are all monthly costs for the Microsoft product stack. Every single one of their cloud products has a monthly dollar amount. Yes.
Okay.
I do want to answer Colleen's. No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I know Colleen's question was answered for Eleni. In turn, Eleni, you had answered the question. Let me read it out loud because some of you may be wondering the same thing. Hey, how come we're not doing this presentation with Teams? And I got to tell you, I can't make all the decisions on our marketing trail, but in all seriousness, Teams is a platform we could do this whole thing with. What we can't get out of Teams today are the data analytics that tie into our sales and marketing engine. And so if you're thinking about will Teams work, if you have an integrated platform with sales and marketing engine, it's not completely there yet. It's on the cusp. It certainly is. And Microsoft has a couple other products that tie into Teams to make it work well, but it's not there in a affordable, consumable fashion. That's why we do these with GoToWebinar. Hope that helps.
Yes. All right. Let's go to this question from Noel. When you first moved to SharePoint, how do you recommend approaching the configuration of SharePoint? Looks like they have about 50 people all working from home, but they want to move docs from shared drive to SharePoint. Not sure where to begin. It's a great question.
Gosh. Yeah, it's such a common question, Noel, and let me give you a framework to consider. And so, at the end of the day, the approach is going to vary between all kinds of things. I can't sit here and give you a 15-second answer on the right way to do it. But what I would tell you is you need a plan, and you should probably start small. If you don't already have someone in your team that is a part of your technical process, you need to get a technical person involved, because inevitably it's more than just file organization and how it's used. There's actual implementation considerations there as well. If you guys have 50 people and you're all working from home and you have a local environment, you definitely need some help to make it easier. And that's something we could easily talk about both in a concept or an actual application. But the concept of I don't want to move the mess from place A to place B, we get that a lot. And what I would tell you is, you kind of got to have, there's 3 core fundamentals to file management, and they're abandon, archive, or active. Abandon, archive, or active. And active means you care about it. Abandon means you don't. And kind of archive is something you're not sure about. And if you can reorganize your data into those 3 buckets, that'll help you with only 2 of them to manage. And then the other side is just moving that data there. It's an oversimplification, but it's a little bit to chew on. Hope that helps.
All right. Okay, let's see here. We have a question from Nancy. If I have Microsoft Office for a sole proprietor, what is missing from the extra values in the programs for large companies?
If I have Microsoft for a sole proprietor, what am I missing from the extra values in the other programs for large companies? So I think, I don't know if you're talking about the enterprise products versus business premium, or if you're kind of saying, why can't I use the things that are cheaper than business premium? We get those questions a lot. What I can tell you is that the difference between business premium and enterprise is simply scaling and requirements. So as you go to those larger numbers of employees, you have different regulating bodies that put, criteria on your business. Like you have to archive every single email that you get, even if it gets deleted. And so some of those enterprise features are only available in the top stack of Microsoft. Excuse me. The lower plans that are cheaper than $20, the bottom line there is no matter if your business is one person or 20 or 200, you have you got to start with the $20 plan. The ever-changing security landscape that's there, you can't kind of forego those security things today. So you really need that midline of the business premium plan. And then typically, as your business scales, some of these other things that come in with enterprise make sense, but not typically at the smaller scale. I hope that helps.
All right, thanks. Okay, question from Kareet. For the purpose of security, does Microsoft have any software that screenshots at pre-timed intervals?
Not natively that I'm aware of, no. And I don't know if the question is coming from maybe a user activity standpoint or user activity and tracking. We get that question a lot. Hey, when our people went home, how do we know they're working, right? And that's an honest question to ask. Microsoft doesn't offer a platform. Yeah, we're talking user activity. That's a whole different paradigm. Microsoft doesn't offer anything natively in their products. There are go-to-market solutions that do offer those things as well. One of them that we're looking at is called Active Track, and that kind of helps provide analytics on what users are doing. But that's a whole nother webinar, a whole nother set of problems for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take one more question because we're almost out of time. Adam, do you recommend a specific order in adopting the different Microsoft pieces that you talked about?
That's a really, really good question. And, we're commonly asked these questions of where do I start? And most people start with the Office apps and email. From there, we see people jump to OneDrive, and then they'll jump to SharePoint because they're not ready to move and get rid of, their local file server. And then, Teams is accelerated in its growth. If you ask me, I am not change averse. So I just dive right in. And what I'll tell you from a business perspective is if you plan the transition well to jump in all at once, you put 6 months of planning ahead of that, 3 months, whatever makes sense for your business, and you take the leap all at once, your business 99.9% of the time, by my measure, will be better served to do it. So if you're already halfway there, take the other jumps and put them on a clock, get that plan, because realistically, you're better off diving all in. And really, we find every time we do the math on time and cost for our clients, the impact of change and the impact of cost to get there costs more if you break it up. Go all in. I hope that helps.
All right. Thanks, Adam, for answering those questions. And thank you to everybody who submitted those. I believe that's all we'll do for today. If we didn't get to your question or if you have additional ones that do come up, please feel free to, you can send them in the chat now, or you can email us at engage@kitetechgroup.com, and we'll be sure to get back to you. So just as a goodbye, Adam, if you could share our last slide. Thanks again for a great presentation. And thank you to everybody who took time to watch today. We hope that you found what we shared beneficial. And keep an eye out because Adam's going to be doing a few more webinars as he promised, right? And he's going to be getting more in depth with some of these components and what you can, how you can take advantage of them. Right. So if you'd like to learn more about how Adam and other members of our team here at KiteTech can help you with the Microsoft 365 project, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to set up a time to talk and see how we can help. So as we mentioned, by Monday, you should be receiving a follow-up email with the recording, and you can also find it on our website and YouTube channel. And please take a minute to do that survey and just let us know how we did. And thanks again for being with us today, and we hope that you guys all have a great rest of the week. Take care now.
Thank you. Blessings. Take care.